Apparently, the new rank season for Pokemon Legends ZA is insane, and if you get first or second place, you can win bottle caps, and people are saying that the regular bottle cap is being handed out like candy, so that fixes a huge problem with the game. But it made me realize, this is what the main series competitive has been missing since Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then I just got reflecting on just the total failure, the 100% complete failure of Pokemon Legends ZA, and that is what we're going to be talking about for today's video, and I have a lot to talk about, so please hang in there with me for all of this. Also, if you enjoy the video, please leave a like, it helps a lot in the YouTube algorithm. Same thing with commenting, and share this video with all your friends. Post it on Twitter, post it in Discord. Is MySpace still a thing? Yeah, drop it there. What I'm getting at is I need this video to get shared with everyone because it really goes into all the problems with Pokemon Legends ZA and how it's really negatively affecting the entire Pokemon community and the casual competitive side as well. So cool, we can get bottle caps now. Problem is, multiplayer is dead, and Game Freak really helped kill it with the new season in multiple ways, because also, legendary Pokemon is a complete joke, and the entire game is just Xerneas and Metagross. So this is the entirety of multiplayer, because the combat is a completely careless system that doesn't work at all. And it's only like, yeah, a viable Pokemon, or a couple of viable Pokemon, and then their counters, and that's it. So there's really no depth or no reason to have action elements in Pokemon. So legendaries were immediately unlocked and consequently immediately ruined the game, and since you only need like 2 battles max to get Delphoxite, everyone's just going to quit the season immediately, which means there's no population for the rank system, and then there's also like no further incentive because Greninjite is rank Y. So, like, you immediately get Greninjite, you also get Delphox, and then you just get to quit for the next 3 weeks to do another 2 battles. And that's it, which means, like, these rewards are cool and all, but there's no incentive to continue playing, to make a competitive team, to grow and develop and figure out all these things about competitive, which is something I touched on, that the system is a failure in so many different ways. Your Pokemon being tethered to you just breaks all the interactions. It's also like the most anti-Pokemon game, because trainers don't stand next to their Pokemon in the middle of battle, and the Pokemon also have a dodge command, and then just like tons of other problems that the incentive to gank trainers is also very mean-spirited and nasty and really goes against Pokemon, but also doesn't make the battle system more mature or adult. So yeah, the action elements for even the base game are objectively terrible and don't work, and then it just breaks even more and becomes more unplayable for the multi-battling. But the main point of my video is that the worst possible thing to do was introduce a new competitive format that no one can get invested into. That there's so many different changes, so many move interactions, and while it does create the idea, the possibility for depth, even ignoring the battle system being completely unfunctioning and terrible. Turn-based competitive Pokemon has already been too complex to get casual players to actually apply themselves in the Pokemon games. So now you have to relearn the entirety of Pokemon, synergies, team compositions, and then you add action strategy elements into that. And yeah, no one wants to get invested into it, and again, there's no reason to actually play or get invested, so all of this immediately falls off, even though I admit that there seems like there's a lot of promise to the battle system. And all of this made me even more upset after seeing the recent trailer for the DLC, because this system actually seems really cool if Pokemon Legends ZA wasn't the worst Pokemon game ever made, and was put into a traditional Pokemon game, because there's a really solid gameplay and progression loop. I don't care about the level 100 Pokemon, or like going above level 100 Pokemon. We all know that that's like a completely temporary thing, right? And it's just kind of like a fake jumping. So that's another thing I hate about Pokemon Legends, is that it's all a complete lie. Pokemon Legends is not for a less childish audience. There's no real action elements inside of it, and it's a fake fanfic story that deliberately destroys the already rich and established lore of the stories that it's retelling. So like, it just completely falls apart in every way. That's what makes the Game Freak leaks really weird, because it's been confirmed that Pokemon Legends as a series is supposed to be a new vertical to attract gamers into Pokemon. except it doesn't do that. Like, it's not deep into the action, so that's just a complete lie. It doesn't delve into the worldview and history because it deliberately destroys the existing history, and then gamers, you're thinking like an older, or at least more, like, dedicated demographic, but Pokemon Legends, especially ZA, completely fails on that by being a 20-hour hand-holding tutorial and the most baby game Pokemon has ever made. And then the main series is also acknowledged to not be for children, that the main series gets a wide audience, and this was already confirmed with Let's Go, that even Pokemon Let's Go was made for adult fans as well as younger audiences or just like people getting into Pokemon for the first time. They wanted to capture everyone, and that's when Pokemon is at its strongest, when it's making a good game that has something for everyone, and then refines the mechanics and everything that they've been building for almost the last 30 years. Going into this new thing, being over a decade behind with the worst action elements possible, is not attracting gamers, which is also why the sales are terrible, and then you're splitting the audience for something that isn't going to exist. And it's not going to have any audience even if you do put the time into getting proficient at it. And then it's also just a complete mess to begin with. But it's like, oh, but what about future? No, it's good that Game Freak is trying now so they can make it better. But the end result is just like so objectively terrible from an action game perspective. And like the worst way they could have done this. That Pal World comes in already has an infinitely better combat system. There's other games I'm excited for like Animo that have done it incredibly, beautifully. Like peak creature fighting combat can be found in Animo, and somehow Game Freak has already just like completely failed and is behind new emerging games. They shouldn't have even attempted the space. And it also means for the system to improve, they have to completely tear it down and rebuild it. So this little stop off for Pokemon Legends ZA means nothing, and there's no reason to invest into it. Now we have to wait 2 to 3 years to see what the new system is going to be like, and if that's worth it at all, but now it's going to be competing with Pokemon Champions and even more, and none of it adds up. Which is why when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is actually cool, because there's a lot of customization elements here. There's a lot of progression that actually works out, which is, like, again, I love really solid gameplay loops. I want to be able to do whatever, get rewarded for it, and have a good time while doing it. Now, none of that is present in Pokemon Legends ZA, but imagine like this on a main series Pokemon game where we get to customize our own pocket adventure for rewards, use those rewards to create a stronger experience for better rewards. That is really cool. I like that. Oh, now we pull out these hyperspace berries, and then that's going to give us more level boosts so we can take on crazier challenges and get crazier rewards. And the type of berry gives us different points towards like, oh, there's going to be different buffs and different power inside of it. And then we can see the customization elements over here, which feels like Path of Exile. That, you know, you have to do the beneficial things you want to help out your run. That's going to come with some negatives depending on how, like, you create your little world. And then you're doing it to have the best time to extract the craziest rewards. So maybe enhanced catch power, lower offensive capability, but if you already have good strategy, that's like, yeah, I'll take that if it means more catching Pokemon, and then more rare Pokemon or more alpha Pokemon and stuff, and then that just means more rewards. Really cool. I could also imagine this being like, oh, I made a special shiny berry, because there's also other things that apply with this. You make special legendary donuts, which reminds me of the Ultra Warp Ride, where you can end up in a space that has all the Ultra Beasts inside of it, and then you can get yourself a powerful Pokemon. Dang, this could have just been an awesome main series feature that then rewards you to get into competitive, which also brings me into a really weird thing about Pokemon Legends ZA. So everything about Pokemon Legends ZA is a lie. It's actually the most babied, dumbed down game for casuals ever, and anyone pretending it isn't, they are the non-fan tourist casual that the game has suckered in. However, that could be a good way to convert into having real competitive Pokemon players, because the gameplay loop is stupid, but also that makes it really accessible. There's people that will just run the Infinite ZA Royale 100 times to soak the rewards. Now, for real Pokemon fans who aren't NPCs, this is a completely insufferable system, which makes every aspect of the post-game unplayable, but you need to have something for the sedated NPCs that don't have any contribution otherwise. That way, when you get them in, like, yeah, they'll just run this infinitely, and it turns out, oh, now they can actually just train their Pokemon for free, because that's how the systems have been made. They end up online, maybe they get a couple of other rewards from it, and now they're invested in participating. Unfortunately, it's with the action combat that is miserable to play and also has no reason to get people to want to play it because it's going away or just going to have no value to actually learning it. Yeah, so while editing, I realized I needed to put this part of the video somewhere kind of earlier in the video because I'm not upset at Pokemon Legends ZA being like the most casual Pokemon game ever, and I wish it was actually like a more casual main series thing, but we already had that with Pokemon Let's Go, and Pokemon Let's Go ended up being very rich and deep for established Pokemon fans because it was made with love. That game captures the spirit of Pokemon more than almost any other Pokemon game ever made. So if you have it to where like you're tricking casuals into just getting super into all the systems and then having resources to easily transition into competitive instead of being like, oh, I've already played 100 hours and now I have to learn about breeding to do that for another 200 hours before I get my butt kicked in PvP. No, thank you. With this, it's like, oh, I'm bored of doing 500 infinite ZA Royale battles and catching every alpha Pokemon for dozens of hours. Oh, wait a second, I have like multiple teams of competitive, I can just hop in, and if I lose, it doesn't really matter too much because still like Pokeball, Great Ball tier, you're eventually going to get sorted out through all of your ranks. The higher level players are just going to go into the higher ranks, and then you can learn Pokemon, and then you get interested, and you start looking up guides, and you start figuring out competitive, and now everyone's playing Pokemon like it's X and Y. That we could, this game, it's another thing that upsets me about Pokemon Legends ZA. Pokemon X and Y, that was like the renaissance of Pokemon after Generation 5 sucked so hard it killed off all the original Pokemon fans. They came back for Pokemon X and Y, it was a wonderful time, it was the renaissance. So what better time to have the second renaissance than with the X and Y remake? This should have just been Z version. This should have been a traditional main series with maybe an extra casual focus just to suck in as many people as possible to kind of revitalize Pokemon, but it wasn't. And see, that's the thing, like, Pokemon Legends is so terrible, it has me going, like, please actually just embrace a casual game for the dummies and NPCs, and then maybe they just end up as Pokemon fans, and that's better than whatever we got. So if this was turn-based ranked with tons of incentives and rewards, it would be the best way to get everyone into competitive Pokemon, because if you're already having fun with the gameplay loop and the repetitive grinding, or also finding alpha Pokemon, which come with guaranteed IVs and are already a good step for competitive, like all the pieces are there for someone that isn't competent enough to actually do any IV or competitive training in previous Pokemon games to just play the game in whatever catatonic state that they want, and then they can turn around and be like, oh, I can actually put together whatever team I want. I might actually be incentivized to like want to go out and get that Alpha Gudra because I like it and I want it on my team, and then work on building a properly functioning Pokemon team because you can actually do that. And then they don't have to worry about breeding, they don't have to worry about any kind of other competitive things because now they already have all the rewards, and if they made it to where, yo, get Ultra Ball rank for Delphoxite, Greninjite, and all that other stuff, now it's like, yeah, you actually have to learn it, you have to get good enough, you get invested, and then you realize, oh, competitive Pokemon's really fun, and if we had these rewards and gameplay loop, I'm saying going back to like Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think competitive could have been a lot stronger than it is now, because like VGC is the most dead it's ever been, no one's playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and even with like Pokemon Showdown instantly making you print Pokemon, that's not real Pokemon, so no one's playing it either. Competitive Pokemon just doesn't exist. Because the casuals, the non-fans, the kind of people that like Pokemon Legends as is, there's been nothing to get them into becoming real dedicated Pokemon fans actually apply themselves, and that's kind of lame. Also, for the established competitive players, it would be great if it's like, oh, I get a bottle cap after every couple of wins in Pokemon Sword and Shield, or like if it was tier-based, like, hey, you win in Ultra Ball tier and there's like a 10% chance to get a bottle cap, that's kind of neat. Maybe in Master Ball tier, it's like 1 in 4, it sounds crazy, but then Scarlet and Violet, it's 10,000 Pokédollars for a bottle cap, and it can get annoying where it's like, oh, all the money wasted on vitamins to EV train your Pokemon, and then you have to go and restock the bottle caps. If I just have to do less main gameplay and I can just get more battles and more rewards to just like instantly get full teams of competitive Pokemon, that works out for everyone. And then also the now like newly converted competitive players fall into that loop. and the scene is just alive and well and thriving, and that's kind of what Pokemon Champions is going for, but Pokemon Champions is way too late. Pokemon Legends ZA is way too late. Like, this game was, according to the Game Freak leaks, this game was done a year ago. There was literally no reason to not release this game in 2024, and then we'd be a year ahead and everything would be going a lot better. Same thing with like Pokemon Champions. That needed to come out this summer in like 2025, but it didn't, so now it's all scattered. There's multiple things making multiplayer unplayable, so now we're just stuck with this now after a year of burning off interest in Pokemon that we're not getting back. And if Pokemon Legends wasn't a careless series forcing anti-Pokemon mechanics into their game, oh, we would actually have like a lot of interest and hype going in and converting for Pokemon Champions, and then everything is just alive and well and awesome for competitive Pokemon. And it's made even better if the post-game systems that augment and enhance your competitive play are also really fun and easy to get into, and then have like actual depth that you can master on top of it. That's kind of what makes training Pokemon really cool, that people say like, oh, there's no skill in training Pokemon, it's all about the battle. Well, those are idiots who aren't Pokemon fans because they're cheaters that have never actually like played Pokemon to understand it. And then they miss out on like all the cool things bringing together, that you are a Pokemon trainer. Your skill in raising a Pokemon and your skill in battle are equally tested, and that's why it's one of the best competitive things and why I've stuck around with it for so much, because I love all the things you can do to optimize every aspect of it and then prove yourself to be the very best like no one ever was. Pokemon Let's Go was incredibly fun with the catch combo system. Pokemon Sword and Shield's gameplay loop for competitive and post-game was also really awesome with the Dynamax raids and then all the extra benefits that you got from the DLC and stuff. You could farm out in multiple ways, use the Cram-O-Matic, competitive teams, everyone's happy. Especially after the pain and suffering of the 3DS era for breeding. Like, yeah, it was cool, but the problem is, cheating just completely invalidated all of that. And then it just goes back to the whole thing of, I am baffled that Pokemon has not shut down Pokemon Showdown. Wolfglick needs to be banned, and as well as all the other top VGC players, because they're all cheaters that are just completely ruining any incentive to play the game. And then when you're just cheating everything, there's no reason to engage with gameplay mechanics or the post-game. And then everyone gets burned out on Pokemon and says it's bad. Where it's like, oh, there's nothing after the story. No, you just hacked in everything, and because of that, it shows you're just a no-skilled cheater, so of course you're not having any fun. And then the people that actually care about Pokemon and want to apply themselves, well, they're just disadvantaged by all the cheating, and then turns out we don't have a community, and then everyone's just toxic and scumbag. Cool. So all of the potential for Pokemon gets destroyed in that way, but then we can see how Pokemon Legends fuels that even further by just throwing away everything that could have built into a really great system. And now it's just so little, so late. We are years behind for Pokemon game releases and content and things to help engage the community, to where it's like, yeah, I'm still excited for Pokemon Champions. But again, no Pokemon Showdown shutdown, well then there's no reason to play. The new games have only split the competitive player base, or any kind of player base, with non-competitive features and a horrible battle system. And now everyone's just a toxic brat that never wants to work for their things, and they're complaining about competitive to the point where like it has to get super duper dumbed down, and people are still complaining. So Game Freak has pandered to tourists with lies about how the game is anything different than Pokemon games that have come before, or that, you know, if you play Pokemon Legends, you're a gamer because it's a deep action game and stuff. And then it turns out those entitled brats don't even want to engage with the system and become invested into anything Pokemon one way or another. Like, yeah, that's the thing, like, it hasn't even worked in the way that, oh, this did bring in gamers, or this did activate a different section of the Pokemon community, and now there's actually two very well and thriving competitive scenes. No, we don't have any of those now, and it's just because this game was awful and it appealed to no real Pokemon fans. And then the systems that would have helped competitive players over the last couple of years are coming in too late, and then it's all a mess, and now it's even more confusing with Pokemon Champions, which we have no information on. Real cool. But there we go, I just really want to break that down. Like, if this game was just a traditional Pokemon game and did some really cool gameplay stuff and really good quality of life and tricked casual players into becoming competitive with how simple and rewarding the game is, we could be in such a better spot, and that just makes me upset, and that's what I want to talk about. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.